The blessings from Catholic priests. First time when I went for confession, something black came out from me. Since then, Catholic priests have been part of my life. When I was in an abusive relationship with my ex-husband, when the parish priest found out that the my ex-husband was abusive, he really tried to help my ex-husband to uh, honor me, respect me. So he became part of our family, kind of. He will invite us to the parish for meal. He will come over for meal, and that is how my friendship with Catholic priest started. But unfortunately, my ex-husband was not listening. He continued his um, uh, abuse, violence. So, Italian priest named Father Marci Lombardi, when he found out that my husband was beating me, he was so angry. He said, "No man should not beat a woman." And he sent me to Catholic Family Service, and there they called the police, and the things went, he was charged and all. Then still I was like, I didn't want to leave my ex-husband because he's my husband, he's everything. So I was trying to do a wedding in the Catholic church because I was legally married in Sri Lanka, but I never got married in the church. So when I was trying to do the marriage in the church, the bishop at that time in Toronto, he advised me not to marry him. He said, "You're free. It's better for you to leave him rather than being with him." So I never thought, like, because in our culture in Sri Lanka, there is no freedom for abusive women. So um, in Toronto, especially the priest, who are able to say, "No, you should not get married. It's not the real marriage." So that really was because they gave me the form to fill. And actually, domestic violence and all, if there is the partner is violence, it's very clear that that is not, that marriage should not happen. So it was a journey for me, with the help of the Catholic Church, especially the priest, for me to liberate myself and find my way to leave my ex-husband. Leaving my ex-husband, I went to Montreal, and honestly, I didn't know how to start my life. And the priest in Montreal, he announced in the church that anybody who is willing to offer a room to. So I got a room, and the church has been a very big supportive system for me. And even 2010 Christmas, I didn't have anybody in Montreal at that time, and I celebrated the Christmas with the in the parish, with the priest, because all those who didn't have any family members, he invited all of us like a potluck and have the to celebrate the Christmas with all of us. And that was Father Mackey from Montreal, and he was like a guiding star for me in Montreal, helping me out in that difficult time. Even I said, "Father, I don't know French. How am I going to get a job?" Then he just called somebody and he said, please help her after mass, give her some class, for to learn French. And that lady was so, she was she didn't have any job, so she was so happy to do that. So after mass, she will just teach me French. So that's how, the priest was so concerned about my life. And Father Roger, who came and blessed my apartment, Father Jill, who was at St. Luke's, he was, he took me to Madonna house where I stayed there for some time. So the priest have been a very support system for me. I went to World Youth Day with St. Luke's, Montreal, and Father Badia was there with us. So there's so many, priests who have been supporting in Montreal. In Sri Lanka, I was born in a Protestant family. I became a Catholic in Toronto. So when I came back to Sri Lanka, because I don't have any connection with Catholicism in Sri Lanka, but I was so grateful. I started a course with Oblates Fathers, with whom I did the Peace and Reconciliation course. And they gave it, it was Sinhala. I was a Tamil, I'm a Tamil, and they are Sinhalese. So for peace building, we got together, and Father Firth gave me the opportunity to write an article about the margins. So that was the first time I wrote an article, published article in a book about the peace from the margins and from the Tamil people who were affected by the war. And also, they gave me the opportunity to share my poem, Army Uncle. So, Catholic fathers have been a great support for me here in Sri Lanka also. And then I also went to South Sudan through Vides Canada. It's a Catholic organization, and I worked in the Don Bosco Clinic with the Salesians fathers. And it's again another blessing. I had meals together with the priest, so it was a new experience to live to, I stayed with the nuns, but still we had that, being together. And then I had an opportunity to travel around South Sudan with the Korean father and the Indian father. So again, it was a very blessing to go and stay in different places where the priests were there, living to staying together, in the priest. And most of the time I will cook and they will call me mummy. So that is one of the great moment for me I had with the priest, when they treated me really like a mother, because when I provided food for them. And some priests, because especially when they are traveling from one place to another, have somebody has to wash their clothes because they are so busy. So I will wash their clothes. And also it was really, and I had the opportunity to wash the cassock, the white one. It was really a blessing. I never thought even I will touch that. It's a very hard, very heavy, and also ironing is very hard. It's not an easy thing what they wear. So I got that opportunity to do that. It was a really a blessing for me to, serve them. And especially one father, he really saw me as his own sister. So I call him Anna. Anna is the elder brother. So for him, he had that, that rights, in a way to say, hey, make sure you cook today this. And, I'm going to bring a priest over for meal. or make this priest, he's going to travel tomorrow. We have to make sure that he has everything ready, so just make sure, all those things he was able to do that for me, tell me. So it was a great opportunity for me to do those things for him. And then I was in Kenya. Father Macarius, he is a Canadian father who had the home for children who were abused, and I had the opportunity to work with in the home for abused kids. And honestly, it was his service from Canada to Kenya is honestly very unique, and I really admire him because his commitment to save the children from abuse and violence, and he has been a great support for me in my path. So I'm so grateful to him for his service, his dedication, his sacrifice to be in Kenya. So there are so many amazing moments with priest, and they have been like a father brother to my life from different countries, not only Canada, but African countries, Asian countries, and everywhere, from everywhere. But at the same time, I also had some negative um, encounter with the priests. One was a priest who sexually, uh, it was taken me into a ride through online. It was really something. I was so shocked and I didn't know what to do at that moment. And all I said, Father, it's wrong. Please, then he said, no, 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 God will forgive. So there are priests like that also. So it was like I became very alert, very careful with the priest because of that. Until that happened, I was so free. I trusted them 100%. But after that, I always keep a length away from, like, even, I don't online also, I don't uh, connect with them often, or I just, I avoid them as much as I can because of that particular incident happened. Then I had another incident. A priest wanted to marry me. So I became a Catholic and I said, I will never take a priest away from Mother Mary. So if you want to leave the priesthood, you leave, but don't use me for that reason. But if I was also, I liked him. I really, if there was an opportunity, such a man to marry, I will marry a person like that. But I don't want that man to be a priest. So I have to, say no. And the sad part of it is, in his batch, only four of them were left. All the rest have married. So for him, when he met me, he said he believed God has sent me, or to take him out of the priesthood, because all of them were, others have already left the priesthood. So I said no, and later on I heard about that he was so grateful that I never said yes to him, and he is continuing to be a priest. So that's the other incident happened, and I'm so grateful that I am a divorced woman, and at that moment I wanted to have a partner for sure, but still I didn't allow that with the priest. So it is a journey, and then I met a priest who was falsely accused of involved with sexuality, which is not true. So he was a visiting priest in States, and he was this single mother, had a child, and he was playing with the child without thinking anything, and he showed that care for that baby, not the mother. But it turned out the mother accused him, and he was put into jail. And he they said, if you agree, if you say you have you have made mistake, we will release you. But the father refused. He said, I did not do anything wrong, so I will rather stay in the jail than confessing what I have not done. So he stayed in the jail, and then he was released, and it was proved that he has not done anything wrong. So there are priest who has falsely accused also. I felt very sorry for him actually, because what he has gone through, but he was fine. And I had the negative impact also. And I was so grateful when I stayed in the shelter in Toronto. I met Deacon James. He comes every Thursday to our shelter, and the conversation, all these things, the problems I had with the priest, I was able to tell him, talk to him, have the conversation with him. So that really healed me, because these are something with whom to talk. Can't talk to normal people, because there is misconception. Divorced people, single mothers, they always run after priests. That is a misconception. Many people, including priests, have that. So when I say anything against priests, it is pointed out that I am a wrong person. But this Deacon James was a loving father who really supported me and who listened to me. And I understood how in Toronto, especially, like the discipline they have over the priest. If anybody accuses a priest, he is taken out of the he can't celebrate the mass until the case is proven. If he is not guilty, yes, he can come back and celebrate the mass. But if he is found guilty, he will never be a priest. And if he is from another country, he will be sent back. Even once somebody accuses him, he will be sent out of the country. So they had so much of discipline that is not in other countries. So in Toronto, I felt it's much safer to be with, associate with the priest. And also the confession things are very open with glasses on it. So there's so much of safety in Canada, especially in Toronto and all. But that is not in other countries. There are so many bad things have happened in other countries from the altar itself. And I have heard so many stories from other women from other countries, how they have been affected by the priest. So as I am also online victim by the priest, so I understand that. So that is also, I hold on to it. I'm not, because the priest I have met who have been a father and a brother and been a role model to me, I respect them. At the same time, I also feel sorry for those priests who have misled the congregation by their abusive, violent behavior, especially sexually harassing and abusing women. So I hold both these holy men and the ones who are struggling to uh, be holy in their vocation. I hold both of them, and I'm grateful for all the holy priests I have met in my life. I went to River Jordan, and Catholic priest who baptized me again in the River Jordan for 10 years ago. And also in Sri Lanka, there was a time I was working in a place and I needed a place to stay, and a Catholic place priest who found that a convent for me. So they have been, and they have done so much of healing work for me and everything. So I'm so grateful for all the Catholic priests in my life. Thank you.